Welcome to the Leadership Lounge, where real leaders spill the real tea. I'm Cindy Hook, and every week we're pulling back the curtain on the wins, the stumbles, and the wild ride to the top. From bold ideas to behind-the-scenes lessons, it's all here, unfiltered, inspiring, and full of real-world wisdom. So grab your coffee, get comfy, and let's dive in. All right, hello, and welcome to the Leadership Lounge. I'm Cindy Hook, and this podcast is all about honest conversations, the kind we trade polished speeches for real stories. Leadership, after all, isn't lived in press releases or LinkedIn posts, but in messy, meaningful moments that define us. Each episode will sit with leaders who've walked the walk, stumbled, and stood up again, and see what we can learn from their journey. Today, I am so excited to have Jeff Brainard. Did I say it right?
Yes.
From JJB Leadership Solutions. He's coming from Maryland. I am so excited for him to be here. Tell us about your background and how you got to where you are today.
Well, Cindy, thanks for having me. I started in the hospitality hotel business back in 1996, coming out of college. Kind of fell into it, looking for that job out of college. Wanted to go and do events, have a PR degree. And then went to work at the little resort in my hometown. My dad had opened it as a tennis pro years earlier, so familiar with it, and started working and kind of fell in love with the hotel business. And that's kind of how a lot of it works. You get into hotels, you kind of fall into it, you fall in love, and you just stick with it. And went from Michigan to Cleveland, Ohio, worked for a couple of properties there, and then a fateful move, joining a company called Destination Hotels. They moved to Washington, D.C. That became Two Roads Hotels, and a journey of 19 years with them. And then most recently was vice president of hospitality for Southern Management. And over the past year, started my consulting group, JJB Leadership, where I work with hotels, management companies, ownership groups, individuals on everything from organizational consulting, sales and marketing, revenue management, a little bit of everything that I picked up over 30 years in the business.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. If you had to pick one project or role or that was challenging, that really shaped you, what would it be and why?
So when I got to Washington, D.C., I was working with Destination and an Embassy Suites, and the revenue manager resigned right after I got there. So I became the director of sales and director of revenue simultaneously. And did that for a couple of years, and that really started me on kind of this multi-role journey. But the one that really shaped me was after that. I got promoted to general manager, but we'd hired a revenue manager, so I was excited. I only had one job, and they said, well, we want you to be the general manager and the director of sales, which in a hotel, that's challenging. So we can do it. We don't want to do it. We got too many people. We got to sell. We got to make it happen. So I was constantly arguing with myself. And that really taught me that operations side and really complementary sales and leadership, because you're pushing the envelope on what is possible from a sales side, but then you have to be reasonable on the operation side and play both sides of the argument. And that really kind of rocketed my growth in multi-property and working with other teams, because you really got to see the entire business. So that I did that for almost 3 years. And wouldn't necessarily recommend it from a balance standpoint, but it was an incredible learning experience.
Oh, that's awesome. What was one of the hardest career decisions you've had to make, and what helped you make it?
Recently, I left my vice president's job running a hospitality division with great people and great teams, and obviously security of a paycheck and a company with a good culture. I reported directly to the CEO. So I had, basically it's something that a lot of people work for to their career to run a division or a group or a company. And I felt passionate about what I wanted to do from a consulting standpoint and change up and work with a bunch of different groups. So it was, it's cutting that swing without a net, basically, and going out there and, believing in yourself. And leveraging those relationships I've built over 30 years to work with people and have fun doing it. And, I'm really enjoying it, sleeping better
Yeah.
and waking up and saying, what do I want to do today and who do I want to do it with? And that's exciting when it's basically all open road ahead of you.
Yeah, I love it. You know what? I had the same thing. When I started my business back in 2013, it was so scary. It was so scary, but you have to believe in yourself. And now, now we're in 2025. I still own my own business, and yeah, it's rocking and rolling. I love that. That's so great. What challenge or setback that really tested you, and how did you get through it?
I think there's a personal and a professional one. I went through a divorce, and part of that was I was working too much. I was there. I didn't have the right balance. I didn't have my priorities right. I thought I was providing and doing those things, and I really ignored what was going on in that part of my life. And when that happened, you basically you reevaluate everything, and then you see that the strength is really. I talk about life, balance a lot with teams, and you give 100% at work. I don't want 110 or 115. I was doing that, and I realized that 100% is what you want, because you have to be able to give 100% when you're outside of work, and that's that family time, whether you have a family or not. What you do outside of work, if you give that less than 100, it's impossible for you to give 100 at work. It catches up with you, and it was a painful lesson, but that allowed me to kind of reevaluate, where I was, and I was a more productive leader, a more productive manager by scaling back what I did and put more thought and more balance into it. And I had more energy going into it because I was in balance outside of work. And then professionally, I loved destination hotels and two roads, and they were purchased. So it was a different company. It wasn't Destination anymore. So having to make that decision to leave and join another company was probably the biggest challenge. And going to a company that wasn't necessarily hospitality, mostly multifamily, had hospitality, and then creating the role and learning to run the division and taking operations and sales and revenue and commercial all under it. That was, from a professional standpoint, probably the biggest challenge, because that, again, 19 years with a culture and an organization, and I have that pulled away, and to go and to basically start again, was a challenge.
Yeah. If you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what would one piece of brutally honest advice what would it be?
Balance. It was, for me, it was that family, and really realize how much energy and stamina and balance you get from that family support, that what you do outside of work matters, how you calm down, how you turn your brain off, how you can step back and evaluate what you're doing to basically restart again and to go in that next day. And having my battery be at 100% more often in my 20s and early 30s, where I worked a ton and really threw everything into it, good work ethic, all those good things. And then the other piece probably was to be a better listener.
Yeah.
Listen and observe. I give one piece of advice to anybody that's young. It's listen and observe. Listen to the people that have been there, observe the people that have been there, and also look at the ones that have left and why they've left and what they've done. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Listen more, talk less, be deliberate. So that balance and listening, if I had done that earlier, I think I would have probably had a little easier road.
Yeah. I always like to say that one piece of advice that I could go back to my 25-year-old self was I would have gotten a mentor, just a mentor. Cause I probably would have started my business earlier. And maybe even if you got a mentor too, you might've started your consulting business earlier. I could kick myself in the, but live and learn, right?
Absolutely.
What skill or quality separates someone who stays stagnant from someone who climbs the ladder?
Fear. I think everybody's scared, but it's the fear of, some of it's the fear of change, some of it's the fear of decision. The advice I got years ago was don't be scared of mistakes. Make decisions, be bold, make good decisions, take calculated risks, and then make better mistakes tomorrow. Learn from the mistakes you made today and make better ones tomorrow. It's not about about not taking risks. It's not about making mistakes. It's about trying things and learning from them and moving forward. And I think the people that stagnate are comfortable and they stay in their lane and they go and look, a lot of people, I came up in PR and it's the theory of, some people want to be the man, others want to be the man that the man relies on. And there's a comfort in that. In PR traditionally is you're the background and you're writing the speeches, you're organizing the events, you're doing that, and you've got a front person that's out there. I changed and wanted to be that person and went out front, but part of that is scary. Again, you're operating without a net. So you have to take decisions, you have to, as they come. You don't have all the information ever that you need necessarily to make a decision. You take the most that you have. You evaluate it with your experience and listen to others. You make a decision and you go with it. And then having the wisdom and the foresight to say, if it's not working, and the confidence to go back and change and not let it scare you away from making decisions in the future. So I really think it's fear, and it's not being fearless. It's controlling it. It's the hero thing is, to be a hero doesn't mean that people aren't brave, or the others aren't. It's just, I'm brave for a minute or two longer. Yeah. I can take that extra step and I'm going to make that decision and we're going to go. And if people believe in you, then, you got that support. They're going to want to be successful too.
Yeah. And it's okay to fail. You learn from failure.
Absolutely.
And you see the most successful people out the world, they will tell you to fail so you can bounce right back.
Yeah, it's that better mistakes tomorrow. You learn more from failure than you ever will, from a success, because you may not know why things are successful, but you can usually pinpoint why they aren't.
Yeah.
And those are the adjustments that you make. And again, you make better mistakes tomorrow.
That's some great advice. What's a common hiring mistake you see leaders make, and how do you personally avoid it?
There's a few, and it's changed over the past few years. I think the biggest pitfall, though, that hiring managers make is they look at experience versus accomplishments. And you look, this person has done this job, they've got good longevity, they've been here, they've done it. But really, when you're probing and going, kind of what you asked, what are you most proud of? What have you done? Give me specific examples. I want somebody that isn't necessarily staying in their lane, that is learning, that is hungry, that has that work ethic, that personal character. And that's tough to identify in an interview, or even, a series of interviews. But I think if you probe and you're asking questions and having them tell you stories, give me specific examples. If you don't have things right at the top of your head of what you're proud of, that's a red flag to me. It shows me that, hey, you've done a good job and you've been a very good team member, whatever, but I'm not necessarily hiring Bs. I want to hire As. I want people to push the organization to make the culture better. I'm looking constantly for my replacement, whether they want it or not. I want people that want to continue to grow, because that's what pushes the organization. There are some people that are in their roles and they want to be in their roles and that's great, but I want you to be the best in that role. If it's a sales manager, I want you to want to be the best sales manager you can be. And, if not, it's that drive. And I think that common mistake is people go for the experience and miss people that are hungry. And I would hire hungry 10 times out of 10 versus experienced.
Me too. I'm with you, right? Like that. How do you personally define success today, and how has that definition evolved over time?
For me, it hasn't changed. And I think success to me has always been, what have the people that I've worked with and or worked for me, what have they gone on to do? Because I'm confident. I came up in sales. I did those things. So I'm always going to have good numbers. My properties that I work with, they're going to do well. We're going to do well in our market share. We're going to do well in our budgets and forecasting and all those numbers and tangible things. What success to me is the people that I work with, or that I'm responsible for, or have been responsible for. Am I investing in them? Am I helping them grow? Am I challenging them? Am I pushing them out of their comfort zones? Am I sharing my experiences, and are I getting them ready for the next thing? Am I giving back? I don't want to be the guy that holds back information. You ask a question and, be careful what you ask. I'm going to answer. But
Yeah.
I want you to learn, and I want people that are hungry to grow. And I want to be the one that I'm your net. Go ahead and take some chances. I've got you. And that to me is success. When you can look back, like I've done over 30 years, and see people that are now GMs or VPs or regionals or gone to different businesses and thrived or started their own. That to me is success, because you don't, when at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what my car was, no matter how big my house was, or that, was I a good dad? Was I a good husband? Was I a good, brother, son, uncle? Was I a good leader?
Yeah.
Did people, want to work with me? And can I call people and say, hey, I've got a question. Would you be able to help me out? And, I've had people follow me. I've had people ask for advice. That to me is probably the most important thing for me. And it's always been from a success standpoint. It's not about pay. It's not about ratings. It's not about any of that other stuff. It's, what do your team members say about you? What do your bosses say about you? What do your peers say about you? And what have you done to elevate all those audiences?
Yeah, I love that. Here's my final question for you, Jeff. One book that changed how you think.
21 Laws of Leadership.
Okay.
And there's, you don't always get all 21, but whether it's law of the lid or law of navigation or law of the inner circle, those are the three that really resonate, with me. And I've always loved that. I've taught that book with some of my team members, and there's different things that resonate, but there's stories, they're realistic, they're simple, and they're straightforward. And they help you look at these different parts of being a leader. Because for me, being a leader or manager, the difference between leader and manager is really one word, and it's followers. You follow a leader, you choose to follow a leader, you believe in them, you're inspired by them, whatever that is, and how you shape yourself to be a leader. That book really helped me look at some of the different components and broaden my horizons and make sure I was being that servant leader, but then also sometimes being the stand-up forceful one. What's needed in that situation, and who do you surround yourself with? So I love it.
Oh, good. That's some great advice. Well, everyone, that's a wrap up today's episode of Leadership Lounge. I hope you're leaving with a spark of inspiration, a few ideas worth carrying into your own journey. Be sure to follow us for more conversations that keep the energy going. See you next time.